Thanks everybody for being here. Um, so, as mentioned, so I'm not alone. I'm here together with Sebastian. In case there's going to be any questions at the end of the session. So let me give a little bit of background about myself. I started as product designer in 1999. Soon I realized that I preferred to visualize the product instead of drawing them myself. So I made let's say a drastic change in my career. I started then to work as a VR and multimedia designer. It was far back in 1999. The tools for VR were not ready at that time yet. The quality was quite low, even it was very challenging for being a product designer and very interesting. I soon realized that I prefer to do computer graphic visualization in rendering. And so I've been working in that field for about 15 years for white goods and for office supplies. In 2014, I was in the Netherlands at an event similar to this one, where my manager was presenting what IKEA was doing. I did see some numbers and I did see the quality that IKEA is able to achieve. Sorry, I went on with the next slide. And so I decided to apply for IKEA, and right now that is the reason why I'm here. I've been at IKEA for 6 months, and we'll show you a little bit about what we do. The interesting part is that I've had 3 months of the beginning of my experience within IKEA to explore the processes in computer graphics and explore the tools that we are using within IKEA Communication, which is actually the company I work for. I will show some of them, and I was really impressed, and I hope you will also be impressed about it. So let's just start. I will give you a brief overview of IKEA itself. I am in Sweden, so I assume everybody knows IKEA. I would at least expect so. The vision of IKEA is to create a better everyday life for the many people. It's a very interesting vision because it does not relate back only to furniture itself. It relates back to a lot of things that are related to ourselves also. We have a big part of charity, and we are trying to be self-sufficient when it relates back to in terms of energy. We are, by 2020, we're almost there. We are putting solar panels on all our stores, and we are purchasing wind energy, how do you call it, mills, okay. But getting back to the facts, to the numbers. IKEA nowadays has 375 stores. We are about 172,000 employees. Stores are almost everywhere, located around Europe and around all the world. We have some blank spots which are in South America and some parts of Africa, but we will be soon opening also in India. So next year in June we will be starting and opening a few stores in India. We ourselves are located in Elmund, so it's about a few hours driving from here, where actually the company started in 1973. And let me just introduce IKEA Communications. So IKEA Communications is part of the IKEA group, and we are about 280 co-workers working at IKEA Communications. We are known in the world for the assembly instructions. We create about 1,800 assembly instructions per year. We create majority of all the visual content which is in the IKEA catalog, in the brochures, and on our website. And we are distributed in 40, which is distributed the catalog itself in 49 countries. I will show you a quick video about the group itself. Okay, even though we are at a V-Ray event, we are still making a lot of photography in our studio, a lot of images that end up in catalog website and everywhere. It is one of the biggest photo studios in Northern Europe, about 8,800 square meters. But today discussion will be about CG generated images or mixed productions. We work in the Do It in 3D. I mean, 3D is related to 3D, but Do It is development and operation IT. Myself and Sebastian work in that. What do we do? Since we have huge numbers and of 3D models, a huge amount of images to be generated, we support the processes in making that happen. So we generate dedicated custom tools that we use in our development process, and we do specific scripting to support and accelerate the CG image production processes. I will show you some volumes. Like I said, I was very impressed when I saw them in 2014. The ones you will see today are even higher. We produce about, well, here you look at a year based on 250 work days, just considering 50 working weeks and 5 days per week. We produce about 15 3D models per day. When I talk about producing 3D models, well, I probably can go in detail later on, it means really creating them from scratch. So 15 days, that means about 3,750 3D models per year. Product images. The product image that you probably see around quite a lot is just a normal product image on a white background. We create about 180 of those per day, which means 45,000 per year. About total kitchen setups, or room setups with all the furniture in it, we create about 40 images per day, which means about 10,000 home furniture images per year. To give you some history, in 2005, actually, the web had a specific request to generate a lot of visual content, and we were requested to evaluate, to produce those product images in 3D. What happened is that from one combination, which is side panels and front panels, it became about this huge amount of numbers, and multiplied by 300, which is actually the kitchen range for Europe, we will end up in about 18,000 images, which is a huge amount. And you should multiply that also considering other different countries like US, that it can be even more than that. This was just an initial analysis, and it took about 1 year before we finally got one product inside the catalog. This is the first product that actually ended up there. It's a virtual chair. So finally we were able to put something in production, and we were able to go on starting to build up and start a new project to really build the 3D models. So let's talk about the foundation, so the building blocks. Starting with the 3D models. Well, the 3D models we generate, we have a PLM system, so we could take the CAD drawings and download them. So this is going too fast. We have a PLM system from which we do download the models, and we could utilize them for different purposes. But the problem is not all of them are good enough. So what happens is that we need to generate like the, if you look at for instance, as a normal chair with pillow on it, what we would have from the PLM system is just a basic structure. But for the pillow, for instance, is not in the PLM system, that needs to be generated. So about 50% of the models are fine, the other 50% needs to be created from scratch. All our models are an exact replica of what we have inside the store. So if you look at it, every single detail is into the 3D model. Every single stitch, every single bump needs to be in there. It needs to be as detailed as possible. Obviously, if you then start to generate CG images, that must be like that. Here I just took the Stockholm chair, which I am actually using in this presentation, and I did some Photoshop trick to show you that really everything is in there. So you see the stitches, you see the smaller details, you see really everything. The point is, when we generate the 3D models, we need them in 4 different qualities, in 4 different mesh resolutions. The reason for that is because they can be used for different purposes. The one you see in the extreme left side, it can be used for kitchen planners, for room planners, or whatever. The one on the extreme right side can be used for high quality images, for instance. PQPM is actually a standard that we created, which actually means pixel quality per meter. It is named like that because it's relating back to the real size of the object itself. So everything we do in real world scale, so it needs to be exactly the same as the product that is inside the store. So looking at it more in detail, when we talk about PPQM 5000, it means that it has a resolution about 0.2 millimeters per 0.2 millimeters per on the mesh itself. So no segment is shorter than 0.2 millimeters. Going up, it will be then PPQM 1000, which is not shorter than 1 millimeter. Going up to 1 centimeter or 10 centimeter. The image I'm showing you here, it is also to tell you that when we make an image of a product, the further we go away with the camera, the lower mesh resolution we can utilize in order to generate the image. So that is the reason why I've showed you this short sequence of images. So going further away, inside the scene setup, we don't need a high resolution mesh, we can use the lower resolution mesh. So here is just an example of how detailed we can go. Nowadays our model library counts up to 30,000 models. Here you can see at the end of the, when creating the production, you really see every single detail. And that is how we like to visualize our final products. Next step, obviously, is the textures. We, back in 2008, created a dedicated studio for it. You can see it in the upper right corner. So it has a Hasselblad camera pointing down, looking towards the texture, and is generating 4 different images with 4 different lighting conditions. The 4 different lighting conditions will allow us to create a neutral. Sorry, this is going. For some reason it's switching by itself. The 4 lighting conditions allow us to generate a texture map, and the texture map can be relayed however we want, because it has, the software is combining the 4 different lighting conditions together and giving us a neutral lighting. And it is also generating a normal map, which can obviously be used for all the different purposes. When I did my 3-month research within our studio, I figured out we had a tool which is called Woodshop. And actually, if you look at the cover, the top cabinet, the top of the cabinet inside your kitchen, it could be a wood combination of different planks which combine together generate the texture surface. In the previous image, I showed you that to make a picture of the real material. The real material can be up to 2 meter by 4 meter, and that means that we can, when we generate something, only extract part of the texture itself. So having a very big picture, and for instance oak, and we utilize it on different furniture, we can just take a piece and just move the UVW mapping around on that piece of oak. So I mean, going into detail about that. So real world scale, like we said at the beginning, looking now at this tool, which is Woodshop. Woodshop allows us to generate a combination of different planks of material that can be moved around together. So on the top area of the movie, you see that we have here, on purpose, we did generate different lamellas of different sizes. And what we are doing, we are just distributing them along the surface that we get the texture that we would require. And then we have the side lamellas also, so that we are combining them together, we will get the surface that we require in order to make the texture itself. So we will generate then the texture that can be applied on the top surface. It is totally flexible. We can modify every single parameter in order to get something like this. not only the lamellas, but we can also make the finger connection in it, so that you can really drag it around and generate the texture that you would require in order to make the top surface of a kitchen, for instance. Having shown these tools, we nowadays have been able to, with utilizing the camera and utilizing tools as we just saw, a texture library of about 10,000 different materials. 10,000 when we talk about products, but if we really want to look in reality, besides the products that we sell, we also do generate room setups. And when you generate a room, it might have wall textures, it might have, I don't know, some paper laying around, which has a texture. So besides the 10,000 I'm showing you right now, we have an additional texture library dedicated for the room setups, which is over 12,000 textures. Okay, let's look at the material. So back in 2005 already, we chose V-Ray to be our supplier and our render engine, and we generated our own material sphere. We generated our own material sphere because we could put a dedicated lighting on it, so that when we were moving the material to the different scene setups, it would be always in the same lighting conditions, so that we will make sure that the materials applied to the furniture inside the room would always give a constant and homogeneous result in terms of image production. Okay, once the models get completed, we have a very, very thorough control over the model itself. So I said we generated in 4 different PQ PM levels, and at the end, when the models are generated, we will go and analyze if everything is correct. So we will check the dimensions back from the 2D drawings to the 3D model. We will really go into all the details. We will check the radiuses, we will check the normals, UVW mapping, and we will just make sure that in the 4 PQPM levels, everything is 100% correct and as the product inside the store. It is a long work, but it really makes a difference if you want to build up a library and reutilize the library at the end of the production. This is the first renders. Once the model is generated, the model will get in our asset management system. The asset management system will generate these renderings that you're seeing right now by itself with 4 different camera angles. This will allow us to check if everything is correct. So if the textures are applied correctly, if the materials are correctly, even if it is the right product we are looking at. So we'll make sure that the quality assurance of the product is really 100% correct. We also have a 3D scanner that we utilize when we need to make materials like towels, or we need to make specific organic objects. We will utilize the 3D scanner. Here on the left side you see 2 instances of the towel that we can utilize for different purposes. Our interior designers are very picky. When they choose that the towel needs to be laid out in a certain way, we will make sure that it's going to be laid out in a certain way, and we'll just scan it and utilize it inside the scene. The image you see on the right side is a picture. It's a real picture, even though we're going to be talking about CG during the presentation, but here we are adding in 3D scanned objects. Okay, so adding in 3D scanned objects and also user-generated models which we can utilize inside the scene setups, which are not maybe IKEA products. How are we using them? Just giving you a very quick example. Here we have a kitchen layout. Kitchens can be very different in between different countries. So what you see here, sorry, this is for some reason running like hell. The image you see here could eventually be for Sweden. So in Sweden we might have a certain cooktop, a certain hood, a certain color on the furniture itself. But moving to a different country, we might have a different cooktop, a different hood, a different setup. So what does that mean? So it means that if you see the 2 rooms do have a different layout. If you need to have the carpenter rebuild the room, it will take quite some hours in order to get there. So using computer graphics, it will accelerate the process dramatically. And going from that specific kitchen, going to another country again, we'll change the colors, we'll change the materials and just generate the content. Okay, here this is an image of a mixed production. The table you see in the middle is a real picture. The reason for that is because also the chairs to have a special finishing on the material which is complex, not time effective to produce in 3D. So we will make a real picture and just combine it and make the computer graphic image as final result. This was the picture from the photographer, and this is the picture as a final combination, a final result. Talking about development, so I mentioned earlier we are involved in simplifying all the processes to generate the content, and so that means that we are trying to just accelerate the whole production process by scripting and creating specific tools. Here I mentioned about picture guidelines because, as I mentioned, not all the pictures will be generated in 3D. Some of them are generated in 3D, some of them generated by the photographer. We need to have very, very picky guidelines, and it's over 200 pages we need to outline and to explain to the photographers and to the 3D artists that we need to follow them in order to make the look and feel of the images consistent. When it comes to using 3D, one of the most difficult things for people that are not in the field since, for many years is placing the objects. So what we did, we generated a tool a few years ago which allows us to simplify the whole process. The thing you see on the right side is a web-based library. It is our CAT library. And what we do is simply connecting the web library together with 3D Studio Max. So this means that in the web browser, the 3D artist can look up the product that he's looking for. Once he finds it, he will just select the product, double-click on it, and import the 3D model inside 3D Studio Max. So the system is connected. The web browser is connected to the library, and 3D Studio Max is connected to the same library. This allows us to really simplify the whole importing process and getting the assets inside the scene. Then we have the problem of placement, obviously. As you know, in 3D we don't have any gravity, we don't have any way of controlling our objects and when we move it around. So some years ago, what we did do is looking into a tool which allows us to pick the object, just drag it around the furniture that we like, and just to place objects on the product itself. So the object, its last touches will retain the information, so we can just drag it around and keep all the assets together. Nowadays you will see it implemented in 3D Studio Max. It was actually us ideating it and convincing Autodesk to also implement it inside their tool to simplify our life of not keeping the script updated all the time. So as you see here also, the instance you can just move around, everything will be connected to it, and it just works. Big problem, another big problem in 3D is gravity. So we don't have gravity, and we have some problems with object placement. So what we did is we used the Bullet engine, and we developed a tool that, so this gaming engine could combine with 3D Studio Max would allow us to simplify positioning of objects, like in this image you can see. But that was not enough. What we also required to do is to generate some earthquake or shaking that would allow the randomization of the objects within the scene. So by just pressing Alt, we are able to generate that shaking and allowing us to randomize the position of the object. It can be utilized for the plates here or the dishes you just saw, for food, for big containers of cookies where we can shake the cookies around. Here objects falling, same thing, same concept. Or for instance, when you have a desk with all pens in it, you can just place the pens in and randomize the position of the pens within the scene. Again here, just generating a random positioning of the pens, having the collision which allows us to have more control over without being there positioning every single object. It is very time consuming, and this is really saving us a lot of time. We are not using it to make animations, so if you see some weird movement during the simulation itself, that is not the purpose. We utilize it for the final image it will create. Here, just cookies falling inside a container. Well, yeah, it's okay. Also utilized for that purpose anyway. To show you some examples, this is one example of images generated, the one on the left. You know how much it would take to place all the objects in place without interference and without creating issues within the image itself. Getting further, we go to the render part. Okay, by now you saw our 3D model library, you saw the textures, you saw the material. Now it is time to render. What we did do several years ago, we created a cloud render farm, and it was a very good solution. It worked. The problem is that internally the 3D artists were using the cloud renderer for everything because they could have as many computers as possible available and just render out. Doing that, we were not using our machines in the most efficient way. So we were trying to find a solution for that. What we did is we implemented, this is a picture actually, not a computer graphics. We implemented a tool that would allow us that when the 3D artists were not sitting at their desk for more than 15 minutes, so maybe when they were going out for lunch, maybe they were going for coffee, or maybe they were going at home in the weekend, the computers will automatically be enabled and be part of the render farm. The system is called Never Idle, which allows us to do that. Here is just a quick graphic showing you that the render farm is analyzing and continuously checking if the computers are available to add them to the render tasks. So to be sure that we will be able to cover all the render needs that we have during the day itself. An interesting tool that has been developed is the single button render. We are using Deadline as a render manager, and when the different tasks get submitted to the render farm, we were running into quite some problems like output pad, map pad, and consistency of the geometry. Are all the geometries at the right mesh resolution, everything. The single button render is just doing a sanity check and making sure that everything is ready to be sent to the render farm before actually sending it. There's also a slider, as you can see in the image. The slider will allow us to increase or decrease the render quality. So the test renders are actually done on the local machines, but when it is sent to the render farm, we can set up the right quality that can be utilized and to get us to the final image. This is an image of our render farm up and running. We can render 18 different queues at the same time, and we are utilizing about 8 machines for each render task. Just to give you an idea of numbers, when we run the render farm at the maximum, we have about 141 workstations running on it, and we can reach about 6,700 threads. I wanted to add this slide, just showing to you some statistics of rendering in the last 30 months. This is just giving you an idea of how many renderings we get through on a monthly basis. Look at this year. This year has been quite heavy. A few months ago, we reached over 2,000 renderings being pushed out during a month. Recent implementations. If you have read around in the newspapers, on the internet, we recently, actually in the 5th of April, we launched our first VR application. It is just an experiment we are doing. And right now it is available on Steam. And if you have an HTC headset, you can download it and try it out. I will show you a quick video of what actually happens. This video was posted 3 hours after we placed the VR experience online on Steam.
Whoa! I have that whisk at home. Very exciting. This is actually made by IKEA, and it seems very much in line with the way you look in the background, you can hear children, delighted children, living in a Scandinavian paradise. Yeah, that's not going to get old, is it? In Scandinavia, this is what the view looks like. It's just a kind of a socialist paradise stretching out in every direction. Okay, let's have a go. I'm tangling myself up terribly, so I might die while doing something with this. Okay. Whoa! This is amazing. Are you watching? Are you witnessing this? Oh, that's not so. No one's happy there. Ah! Yeah, you might not want to eat this when it's done. What does that say? I can't. That says shoveling snow. You see a little bit of family tension there. I like it. It's crazy. We have this. This thing. I have this. I put it together, and let me tell you, the wheels are a bit of a pain to get on. You pull it out. They've got books in it. That's a nice idea. We've just got like old packets of Lady Grey tea in ours. What I'm going to say is, where are you, Chris? Are you over here? Would you like some of this? I made it.
Yeah, you can send out the old ones.
It's fresh. It's lovely. That looks like, is that like cilantro?
So if you want to have more information about it, we will be at Norden Games presenting this, presenting Future Reality at IKEA next week, or at the end user event in Utrecht in June. That's about it. Thanks for having looked at it. I hope it was a lot of interesting content. And if you have any questions, we are here to answer them. Any questions? Okay. Thanks anyway. Thank you.